Hello.
How goes it?
It is going amazingly well.
Wow. It's great to see you.
You too. Welcome to the Lift Oneself podcast, Tyrone. I appreciate you being here.
Oh, no, thank you. Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate all that you do, you know what I mean? And like you said, I appreciate you as well. Who knew, right? All these years, we'll be sitting here, having a conversation, right? So, no, thank you.
How is your heart doing?
Doing pretty good. Doing much better than before we started. So I'm feeling great. And it's pumping, I think, at a normal rate.
What can you thank COVID for?
Being home and trying back to balance out myself. That's one thing that COVID did that's good for myself and the family. Just working from can't see morning to can't see night and can't see no money. No, that's what was my prayer before COVID. So being home now, spending time with the family really helped me to balance myself in a sense where it was always a struggle for balance. Always a struggle for balance, right? So it showed me that we knew, or we heard that money wasn't, the end all be all, and we all acknowledged that. But we needed it to, pay our bills and stuff. But COVID let me see that no, bro, there's way, 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 way more to life than you're trying to chase this money. So that's the good that it brought in balance more to my struggle of life.
So you recently published a book called The Proper Way of Interacting with the Police. I want to take a moment and cheer you on. I have been encouraging you for years to bring forth more empowerment and to speak to the people. Can you share with the listeners what inspired you to write this book?
I remember you and I having a conversation a while back, and I was letting you know my intentions of expressing myself, and you're like, listen, just go out there and do it. It's a gift that you have, right? And, a lot of us can say we have it, but to actually somebody to actually keep reminding you. And I said, you know what, let me put it in a presentation form, because why? I work with the police, Ottawa police, for about 5 years, and the city of Ottawa as a liaison between, the police and the community, trying to bridge the gap between, our community from the Caribbean and the police who don't have a proper relationship, right? And I noticed the interaction, the good and also the bad, right? When it comes to dealing with the police, the trust by us and also by them. I started out doing presentation to anybody who would listen for free, really. Just go on Zoom and present to people that wanted to listen to, how to properly deal with the police. But the main objective for me, it wasn't so much dealing with knowing your rights. And this is what I try to tell people. Because why? You can know all your rights, but still end up dead, right? So I wish we saw in countless cases, you know what I mean? So the main objective was to get us home alive. The motivation or the inspiration came from watching so many of us losing our lives, which at times I thought we could have. I'm not blaming us, don't get me wrong, right? We could have, avoided a certain way of how we said certain things or how we carry ourselves, right? The purpose was, I'm going out, and trying to get our brothers and sisters to just learn how to properly. And I made it clear, it wasn't the only way to interact, right? But I thought it was the proper way that the suitable way where you can make it home to your family.
I appreciate that you were in the trenches. So you were in the system. So you saw it from a police officer's point of view, and also understand it from a citizen's point of view, understanding it from a Caribbean point of view. So it's not just one or the other, it's merging the dynamics of the two. Because being a police officer, I really appreciate how you said, once there's movement, you need laws, you need rules to be able to make sure that there's not chaos. And I think a lot of people don't understand the impact of how much trauma police officers go with always being on edge of, is my life going to be at risk? Because I'm there to serve and protect. So that means I'm going in hostile situations. And when you go into hostile situations, people have to understand those people are agitated and their fight or flight system is activated. And if you don't know how to regulate yourself, you are blindly being taken over in action by fear. We can get insulted, take things personally. And what a lot of people may not realize, what trauma does is a feeling gets activated. So your present situation, you think you're back maybe 10 years ago in another situation. So what the person is saying to you, you don't clearly hear because that feeling from the past is being activated. And that's why it's so important to be in touch with yourself. Absolutely. And understand, oh, wait a minute. Yes, the system is very flawed. The system has its biases. You are correct when you are seeing the things that are going on. Yet the main objective is get home safe. Get home safe, and there's other means.
That's it.
There's other means to argue this point.
That's what I was trying to establish in being out there working with our young brothers and sisters, because I get to see it, like you said, from a, liaison point of view with the police and liaison with the community, right? So when you see how we interact and how, we carry ourselves, and I try to get this point across, what the police officer may perceive as a threat, you might say, brother, come on, no, sister, that's not it. No, but that's how the system is designed, where law enforcement is the only job, really and truly, if you look at it, who can say, I perceive whatever you have. It could be a guitar, and I mean, that's an actual case. It could be a phone. It could be, this is what the officer, and I'm not speaking as an officer, right? Don't get me wrong. I'm speaking now from seeing and studying these cases, right? Before I wrote this book, and speaking to former officers or current police officers as well, whom I am friends with. Look how it's written. It is how or what the police officer consider a threat. If I am 6'3", 230 pounds, and you're 5'8", 125 pounds, to you, even though in my head I'm not a threat, but to this female officer, she sees somebody like me, she said, well, I perceive that. And that's the language I'm trying to get the young brothers and sisters to understand. If she perceives it as a threat, it is written in that coded language, where they now end up getting away with you being shot, because they perceive you moving your hand towards their gun as a threat, right? Which I can understand that. But you in your head, you're saying, I wasn't moving my hand towards your gun, right? So it's the only job, really and truly, you look at it, not the fireman, not the ambulance or first responder. No, the police have the literal authority to say, I perceive whatever you hear, whatever it is, as a threat. And then you end up now losing your life. So yes, I said earlier, you might be right in what you're saying, but you can't take on that Caribbean mindset, shoot me and see, or slap me and see, you're still gonna be dead, right? And that's what you're experiencing. That's what I'm seeing when we have these presentations. What you mean, brother Tyrone? I ain't no punk. You can't do that. No, brother, but you're still alive, sister. You made it home. And like you said earlier, you can now go to the court system now, even if you don't get justice, but you're still alive.
You see, authority is a very tricky thing. And I understand what people are, if people would just realize roles are roles. And within the roles of these systems are still human beings, and human beings that have flesh and feelings and personal lives. So as much as you take an oath and you're supposed to be regarded as a high, if you don't have the infrastructures to support yourself and deal with your own personal lives, absolutely, that has an impact on how your perception is on the outside world.
Absolutely.
And as much as we esteem it as a certain way, we also have to remember it's human beings.
Yes, and go to their family as well. Like you want to make it home to your family, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And how things are interpreted is going to be very different. What we're learning is that we don't know how to communicate with each other.
100%.
It takes educating too, where if people are timid, being around Caribbean people, you'll be freaked out all the time because they're loud, they're boisterous, they're animated, where you think they're always arguing with each other. Maybe there's a point that, yeah, why are we always shouting and having to be so talking on top of each other and all this kind of stuff? Yet that's just part of the culture.
Absolutely.
And for some, that would be like, what are you doing? Like, it's scary.
Perception.
And so if you're not used to that, you think there's something really wrong. You don't see that this is the way that we communicate. And police officers, as much as you would like the system to be on top of everything, it has its own biases that we're only going to see it this way, and we're not going to include the diversity fall into place.
You best believe that.
Where the system, we're starting to challenge a system of, no, there's diversity. We're not falling into place. Yeah, you have to understand when to say that narrative of we aren't falling into place, because the system can still take a lot of authority and there's nothing you can do about it. We just found over 1,300 bodies for a resident school. Now, if that doesn't say what systems can do, then be mindful.
Absolutely.
And and I want to hold the space. It's understandable of the rage. It's understandable of the anger. Yet, you know what? We as a community have to hold space and allow these stories to be told, processed, danced out, sung out, so that we can see another possibility. This dismantling of everything and just eradicate everything. It's like, and then what? What are we going to do?
We need law, like we said earlier. Let's be clear on that, right? You're right. You can't just go stomp everything out, right? But there's a balance to this thing, right? Because like we said earlier, if you have motion, you have to have law, because we're going to have chaos. So imagine, nobody decide they're going to obey the stoplight or the stop sign. So we need law, but you have to have people with proper mindset to regulate those laws and make sure they are applied equally to all, regardless of creed, class, or color. So you can't just have a system where, and clearly it's not working. Because if you're going to tell me an indigenous person is 10 times more likely to be shot by the police in Canada, not in the States, we're not talking about the States now. So for people who are telling me, we have a competition with them, and they're like, Brother Tyrone, that's the States. No, sir. This is Canada. They made it clear. The stats showed that an indigenous person is 10 times more likely. Still, even after the history, you're still, the chances of you getting shot down 10 times more likely than a Caucasian person. And as you said in the book as well, brother like myself, or the brothers in the Middle East, you're 3.8 times more likely to get pulled over. Why? Are we just criminals? Are we just, right? So you have to be able to maneuver in alignment like that. You can't just be out here, because eventually, if you're getting pulled over, eventually you're going to have an encounter with the police, right? So you have to know how to properly conduct yourself. And that's, the purpose of, me putting that out there.
Yeah, and I appreciate it. It's difficult when a people have been marginalized and oppressed.
Right.
They're tired.
That's it.
I'm tired of having to explain things.
Yeah.
I'm tired of having to, be a certain way or just take the BS from things. I'm tired.
That's it.
And then that becomes that you don't even regard your own life. You don't even see the fragility of it. You're allowing that oppression to really win.
And as you discussed earlier, I share this with the young brothers mainly, not some of the sisters. I share this with the brothers where they asked me about the lion and the hyena that we put in the book, right? And these are actual things that we talk about when they do the presentation. I try to give them a better picture as to what they're dealing with. And you said, talking about, you're tired of, we've been under oppression for so long. Well, the same way we are tired, they know we're tired. As I explained in there, that you take a lion from the jungle of Africa, you domesticate that lion, you breed them and feed him in a bottle. You domesticate it, you killed them off, domesticated his cub, and you did it for 4 generations. Very symbolic for the 400 years you've been over here, right? So that lion now become domesticated into a little pussycat. but innate ability of that lion is still laying dormant. So the trainer, he knows or she knows, you know what? What's that guy? What are those two guys? Siegfried and Fried? You remember those two guys in the circus? They're lion trainers, right? Or tamers, I should say. But if you recall, the lion helped end up mauling one of them. Why? Because they know there's something innate in you that at a certain point, that lion is going to say, hold on a second. I am 400 pounds of raw physical physique. Why am I sitting here in a circus jumping through hoops? No, I'm not going to stand for that anymore. The same way the lion knows that, the trainer knows that as well, or the tamer knows it as well. So the police, the system itself knows that. So when I'm explaining to the brothers, they may see you as a one lion, right? Even though you're a pussycat, but they know there's something laying dormant in you that they say, well, what if this lion decides, you know what, today I'm going to be a lion and not a pussycat. So that's why you see all these other police officers, who's 30 seconds away, on one brother or two brother, you have 5 cop cars, right? It's just the way the system was designed. And I said it earlier, we're not anti-policing. It's clear something has to be done. Because how are you going to be 10 times more likely to be shot than your counterpart?
Anything that says anti for me, I run away, because that means you're not getting in uncomfortable conversations.
There we go.
We're not acknowledging both sides.
Absolutely.
There's no anti nothing.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
It's uncomfortable conversations that we're going to have to acknowledge on both parts.
Go ahead.
Because
we don't want to do that.
You're wrong. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. And it's like, we're both dancing. So obviously the dance, we need to call out now. And so any I'm like, how about we understand why it's here?
Absolutely.
Because once you understand something, then you can find the solutions. But if you're trying to change it, but don't even have a concept of why it was created or what's here,
that's it.
You're just going to be rolling around, wasting energy. Let's go beyond the behaviors and find out why. It's not about looking at symptoms anymore. We need to get to the root causes.
Absolutely.
That requires going through things. What do we like to do? Bypass and jump over. But, you still have to go through it. Like birthing is still a process of going through.
Absolutely.
Even if the belly gets cut open, you're still going through something. Absolutely. What I'm learning too is we don't know how to lean into fear.
Absolutely. That's a good point.
With these children being dug up by the residential schools.
Another 751 again.
Yeah. So we're up to, I think, 1,300.
Man.
And what my thing is why are people I'm like, you're shocked? Well, that clearly shows that you haven't been listening.
That's it.
What I know to be true is those in power have control over the narration of history, and it doesn't mean it was telling the truth.
Right.
We need to acknowledge that us as humans, we can do some nasty things when we don't hold our own fear.
100%.
And we don't own it and are not responsible with it.
Oh, yeah. We're trying to avoid it right now. And then tell you that the nerve to tell you just get over it. I don't see nobody telling, the survivors of the Holocaust, just get over it. You know what I mean? Every 5 to 10 years, there's a new movie coming out about what happened, right? And rightfully so, don't get me wrong. But don't just tell us, so what, he raped you, big deal, move on. Really? Just like that. And I'm seeing this, and we're not talking about, 1520s, 1850, you know what I mean? People acting like we're talking 400, 500, 600 years ago, right?
This is present moment.
That's it. Happened in what people consider the greatest country.
It's present moment.
Yeah.
That's why when people are like, well, I didn't do it, it's like you inherited it. Yeah. We all have to recognize we have biases. We all have it.
Absolutely. 100%.
And we have to, those that have been oppressed also have to recognize you have a lot of anger, and you could end up doing the same thing that those people did to you. Just you think you're justified to do it, that you think you're doing it in a loving way.
There we go.
And that is the work of, that's what warrior work is. of sitting with your fear
Yes.
and unifying it and not getting into that black and white separation and wanting to project that out.
Absolutely.
And that takes taking time with the self.
That's the part that we don't understand. That inner voice,
Whew,
it lays down with you,
whew.
it eats with you, it bathes with you. Whatever you're doing, that voice, call it whatever you want to call it. You want to call it Jah, Jesus, Allah, Mother Nature, like I said earlier. Yeah, you can't hide from that, Nat. I don't care what you say. You cannot hide from that, right? You can't even take a vacation in the islands. That's coming with you.
That's why I meditate. Your nervous system records all the time.
Absolutely.
Has one default setting.
Mm.
Don't die. And where we've been bombarded with all kinds of commands and rules and regulations that we were even talked out of the self.
You just keep yourself in that little, no, I can't go over here because my religion said that. I know I can't go over here because my way of life said that, right? Yeah. And it's holding that control. Any religion that, don't allow you to express yourself, why would you be a part of that religion?
And question it. If you can't question authority,
absolutely,
then what kind of authority is it?
Absolutely.
Our nervous systems are not our own nervous systems. Our ancestors are in us. It is generations and generations of nervous systems. So when you come to understand your ego trauma,
yes,
if you really can go into that, you come to see that, the energy that you didn't understand all through your life is you're holding on to ancestors and you're the voices of all that. And you have to be able to usher it in.
All of that. Think about what you just said. All of those hundreds of thousands of ancestors that, went through good things, yes, but also
experiences,
the trauma that I am taking on. So people say you have a different personality and you're wondering why you're expressing this side to yourself, right? And you think to yourself, man, why am I like that today, right? And I 100%, I totally see what you're saying. 1,000%. So imagine that now, living with that experience. I mean, the negative side to it. Like you said earlier, getting whipped, getting raped, getting pillaged, and all that in your community. And that's conjure up inside of me.
And then your own people tell you just don't talk about it and just push it through. And that's just what people do. That's just what we're supposed to accept. And I appreciate this younger generation. They're like, oh no, we aren't doing this tolerating garbage anymore.
Trust me, they are.
We're calling out and we're healing now.
Oh yeah, that's why people can understand them. That's why they're like, these people they're rebellious, and you have to be rebellious. You're not getting nothing done without that.
If you understand trauma, there's wisdom in it. Yet, if you don't know how to lean into fear, you are emotionally charged all the time because you don't know how to feel in your authentic state. Not the masks that have been put onto you, in your authentic state of feeling.
Not my representative, right? Not that other person that I'm trying to hide from people. Yeah. And we do a good job, we think, of hiding that person, right? But you and I know he's still there or she's still there, whatever you want to cut.
Or you're disconnected from it so much that you don't even know who that is. And so when you start coming back into connection with it, you're like, I'm losing myself. I'm losing my mind. It's like, because you've been separated from your authentic way of feeling that it is so vulnerable that you are repulsed by it.
Oh, that's wow. Yep. That is 1,000% on it. Yeah. Honor that a couple of times. Because, especially as men, right? Man, yo, Brethren, man up. Yeah, talk about man of the ball, man of the express themselves. Yeah, big man. I'm only 9. And it's funny, that you said that. It's funny we have this conversation right now. I was expressing to my sister over the years, I finally figured out why we had a tumultuous relationship. And I was finally able to have a conversation with her, as far as coming to healing. And that bothered me not for years, not being able to come to her aid physically as her older brother. And I was finally able to express that to her. And that's what led to, our healing. Years, a good 20 years of her not being on the same page. You know, when she would come to the city, I have no clue she's in the city. What kind of foolishness is that? I'm your older brother. I never done nothing to you physically, but in my head, I look back at it and realize, man, yeah, nobody actually taught me how to actually express my feelings towards my younger sister as her older brother, because I never saw my dad or my uncle, you know what I mean, did that. Same thing with chasing tail. That's our culture. You know, man must have enough girl and girl in a bundle. But I started to say, hold on a second. If I don't want my woman to be giving me bun, then why would I be doing, you know what I'm saying? But that's just how we were raised. That's what I saw. I thought that was the norm. And I blame, you know, I rationalized disobedience then, you know. Even though I knew it was wrong when I got older, I still kept on doing it because, you know, I just rationalized the madness, right? To justify, you know, my foolishness. And that's why you see most of us today. Most brothers, we trying to justify the foolishness. So we will just, you know, make up all the excuses. Well, no, I can do what she can't do. No, brother, if you don't want it to be done to you, don't do it to her. Call it whatever you want to call it, right? If you don't want it to be done to that significant other, then don't do it. And then we have no issues, no problems. You know what I mean? But yeah, that healing process, it took me a while to finally come into my understanding of this is why your sister don't see you in a certain way like this, because you never spoke up for her. You know, I thought us being there physically was enough, but no, I saw the trauma, like you said earlier, that it caused not just on her, but on the family. You know, being the only daughter and having three older brothers, and we just there physically, but not being there for her physically. You know what I'm saying? You know,
Emotionally.
Absolutely.
You were there physically, but not emotionally.
100%. 100%. Because I didn't understand that emotional part of it, you know, to be with your sister who's out there with a child and gone from home and, you know, all that stuff. So I justified it. Well, that ain't my problem. She did what she wanted to do. You know what I mean? Yeah. No, I could have been there for her as an older brother who knew better in that sense. So it took me a while for us to repair that relationship.
See, the knew better, it's a dangerous space for me to say because we don't know how to access it. We don't know how to be empowered to trust that inner knowing because we've been talked out of it. So then we can start attacking ourselves that, well, you knew better. You just didn't listen to yourself. And it's like, you didn't realize you were talked out of believing in that and you evilized it.
Absolutely.
When you go into the healing, you're still beating yourself up.
Absolutely. That's so true. I was literally 6 months ago. Literally, you know, like, okay, brother Tyrone, you finally fix it. But man, I knew better. Man, you're on it 1,000%. 1,000. It's like me and you were talking before about this conversation right now. I swear to you, 1,000%. Because you're like, man, come on, brother Tyrone. Oh, you are out here giving people these advice and helping other people and your own sister. And I knew better. And I kept on saying that to myself.
Do you know what the missing part is? I didn't know how to trust myself.
I got you.
I didn't know I had the capacity to experience pain.
100%. Wow. Yep. You on it.
And again, to lean into that fear that I'm going to listen to that small, still voice and go against what the tribe is telling me to do.
Absolutely.
Because in our ancestral nervous systems, if we went outside of the tribe, we were by ourselves and we would die. And so that little small voice of seeing, you just were talked out of being able to trust that and do it differently.
Wow.
No, and that's the healing.
I see why you do these podcasts now. I really do. You know, because we need a space for that. And especially like I said, you know, I can only speak in our community because I live this life, you know what I mean? And I'm sure there's other communities that go through this as well. But I know I work with enough youth. I have enough experience working within myself and trying to understand how to apply now this thing where my children don't go through it. Exactly. They're gonna want they're
gonna pick up their stuff.
Absolutely, right? But you know, if I can help them minimize it, like I said, you know, by like you said, just at least expressing that. Because, you know, in all of my life, I started with this for a while. I never heard, even though I know love to me, I describe it as a verb, right? But it's good to hear it. I have never heard it, and never is a harder, but I can't recall hearing it from my mother, even though I know she does, because, you know, what she does, right? But just to hear it as well, which is an organ that I need to hear it from, right? I never heard it, and for years I struggled with that. I'm the top basketball player in my school. Nobody's coming to my game. You know what I mean? People are seeking to bring me over in the States. No mom is at my game. You know what I mean? And I didn't mention my dad. Never hear him express, later on down the life, when we get WhatsApp, oh yeah, yes, Ty, I love your son, but never actually get a conversation with the parents. And for years, I said that until I finally said to my mom, I appreciate, even though we never heard it, I'm gonna let you know, based on what you did, leaving the bank, leaving the hotel. I know you couldn't have come to the game because you came to the game. You have 5 of us, right? You couldn't have came to the game because what? Who's gonna feed us? You got 5 of us trying to we're grown boys trying to eat. And my sister, right? So we finally had that conversation, and I think I lost 20 pounds. I'm not even, and I was in great physical shape, but it's like I lost 20 pounds just finally mustering up the courage to say to her, Mom, I don't blame you. I don't hold you responsible anymore, for, what I thought was my shortcomings and, us being, you're not being there for us, because I saw what you did, physically, even though I would love for you to say, that you loved us in that sense. But I didn't hold you liable anymore, and not just saying that alone, I lost like a half of my body weight that literally just went out, the window. So I'm in agreement with you 1,000%. I don't know why we have this conversation, but it's for a reason, right?
You brought acknowledgement and you validated yourself. You validated that it hurt that my mom wasn't there.
100%.
It hurt that I didn't hear you say, I love you. Not just putting a mask, well, that's what she did and all this kind of stuff. It's like, no, there was a little boy all the while that needed this and
100%.
didn't get it.
100%.
And now I'm going to take that blame off of my mom, because now when I see myself, I can understand, well, if she wasn't able to express it to me, I can imagine the relationship with herself inside.
Absolutely.
And now I'm going to be that parent.
Absolutely. 100%.
And I'm going to connect into that and acknowledge, like, yeah, that was overwhelming and it hurt.
100%.
I'm not just going to pretend like it didn't mean anything.
Yep.
Being a truth teller has a high risk. It has a high risk. We're seeing less and less of our Martin Luther Kings or Nelson Mandelas or Malcolm X's truth telling. It's a high path.
Absolutely.
And it takes a trust in something that is not in the worldly structures of belief systems and all that. And it's scary. And these are the things where we have to acknowledge. I think more and more, we're not seeing these big higher kind of modeling of people, because now it's like, no, all you have to show up. Absolutely. It's no longer one head that's going to guide everybody, like you have a savior and everybody else can hide under that umbrella. It's actually, no, you, the people, now, we need change, we all have to start showing up, and we all have to start coming into the uncomfortable conversations and acknowledging things.
See, that's the thing. I like what you said there, acknowledging things. You always have this one person who is very religious, right? So I'm telling you from experience now, and one of the scripture that people like to quote is, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. But we like to stop right there. But if you keep reading it, that's not what it says. It says, my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Why? Because they reject knowledge, right? So you can't just sitting on the wayside knowing what you know, like what you were saying, and we're gonna pray that somebody come and help us. No. The knowledge is here. The evidence is here. You are just choosing to reject and apply what you know, what you heard. Like you said earlier, how much more do you need? How much more speakers do we need? How much more authors do we need to come now and speak on our behalf? No, we have enough authors, authors, I beg your pardon, spoke on our behalf. But you were rejecting that, right? The facts, the evidence is here, right? But we are rejecting that, right? So a lot of, you're going to find that. I find that in all the groups I've been through,
Fascinating, isn't it?
You have that, right?
It's fascinating, isn't it? I'm like, wow, opposed to listening to anything. And that is a dangerous space to be in. if you're not even willing to listen,
Absolutely.
that you think you're so right, that you're not even open to see that possibly certain things you're doing are harmful?
Absolutely.
How do you support your mental health?
Man, over this past year and a bit, if you told me that I had that, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm good to go. But I'll tell you this, 8 hours, because I've been home for the past year and a half, 8 hours at work, I likened it to the equivalency of me being 2 hours at home with the children. So mad respect hats off to my wife who has been home taking care. 8 hours in that at work, I equal it to 8 hours, 2 hours at home. So how do I help to deal with the mental aspect of it? Because it's there. And I found myself getting some headaches before. I'm like, that's not me, that's not my thing. And I realized it was the home stress and not being home for so long. And now that I'm home now, I didn't know to adjust properly, with dealing with that. So I had to take myself away from work and start spending time with the children and doing what they want. Also, not just what I want. I like to play basketball, so we're going to play basketball. No, you might not want to play basketball, right? So it was always what's the self, gratification. I find that don't work for my mental health. So what's been helping is now allowing myself to express myself, yes, but also for the youth to express themselves. And we all express ourselves together and take the time out to yourself. I never used to do that. Take my time out and just enjoy nature. I never had that, because like I said, growing up in the islands, that's considered, that's soft, right? Let's be honest. But I realized that over the years. No, man, this 1.5 years of being home. Take time out, go to the park, and go into to Gatineau Hills or whatever, and just relax or get off the phone or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? That helps me a lot, and I love to listen to music. That helps me tremendously. Old music, not this new stuff that they got these days. Old music, 50s, 60s, and 70s and 80s, right? Really bring a smile on my face. And my wife said to show my dimples more, so that kind of helped me a lot. So yeah, that's how I deal with the mental, because it helps. And I realized it over the years. I thought I had it under control until I was actually home, and I realized no, this thing is actually not what it's all cracked up to be.
I'm going to bring you into a reflective question. You're going to bring this awareness right now, and you're going to go back to your 18-year-old self. What are 3 words you would tell that 18-year-old self? It can either be formed in a sentence or just 3 individual words, yet it can only be 3 words.
Patience, act, listen.
Why?
Because I realized I lacked the patience that was needed at 18 years old to act upon what I should have acted upon. And I should have listened to that inner voice that we said earlier that you can't hide from it. That was telling me what to say, when to say it, but also how to say it. And I didn't listen to that. So those 3 words that came to my mind when you asked me that.
Where can people find you?
So you can find me on Instagram on my, Tyrone Baugh. And you can also find me on Facebook under the same name, Tyrone, and Baugh is spelled Baugh. My email is Tyrone_ same last name Baugh at yahoo.ca, not .com, but .ca. You can also find the book on Instagram, right? It's on my page as well, but you can also go purchase it in the Kindle form and also hardcover copy at Amazon.com if you're in the States, or Amazon.ca if you're in Canada.
I want to thank you for being on the podcast. I want to thank you for being an amazing human. I have known you since you were in your teens. Babysat for Javon for me when I was in my younger ages, so I could go let out some steam and have some fun. So we have, decades of knowing each other. For me to watch you witness how you have grown, the path that you have taken, the things that you've done for the community, I really commend you, and I'm honored to know you. Tyrone, and I'm honored to be able to have these discussions. And I hope that you'll come back and have some more discussions so that we can get these uncomfortable conversations going so that healing can come on. Thank you for creating the book. It's a beautiful book. I bought it right away, right when I found it. And I hope others will go out and support. That is what's needed in the community too. If we want knowledge, we also have to support that knowledge. And we have to support the people that, like you said, in the trenches, because you need the
I really
support.
appreciate you having me on, and all the encouragement you've been giving me, over the years. It's greatly appreciated, and thank you for having the space and the wherewithal and also the courage to put this out there, right? Because there's a space that's needed for it. And, I'm very happy that you're able to invite me in this space at this time to express myself. And hopefully, like you said, we can reach some other people as well. But I'll definitely be back. Like I said, I'm home. So whenever you want, any topic you want to touch on, I am, no stranger to these hot topics, right? So thank you once again, Nat, for having me on. And I'm greatly appreciative of all you do.
Thank you, Tyrone. Remember to be kind to yourself.
I'll do that, and you do the same.
I will. Thank you for making it to the end. I appreciate you and your time. If you found any value in this conversation, I ask you to help us grow by subscribing to the Lift Oneself podcast and more, sharing it out to others. The more that we have conversation and dialogue that are honest and open, that is when we can remove the stigmas around mental health. Until next time, remember, be kind and gentle with yourself. You matter.